Good morning. So, welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V, where we are intentional about connecting you with other entrepreneurs, nurse entrepreneurs that have overcome, or healthcare entrepreneurs that have overcome and want to provide value to the audience. So it's Dr. V here, where our coaching program teaches nurses to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money and owning their own time. So today we have Sequisa, the Texas NP. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So
Hey,
tell us a little bit about who you are. You've been on the show before, but
yes,
we
I have.
we talked about your overcoming. We talked about you and the fact that your mother was in a wheelchair for a large part of your life, correct?
Mhm.
And so now we're going to switch the conversation over to your professional life, right? So the things that has happened as you have progressed through this nursing journey. So tell us a little bit about you. Give us your bio.
Oh, my bio. Where do I start? I've been in nursing for 23 years. I started as an LVN and worked my way up to get my master's degree as an adult geriatric nurse practitioner. And then I took that and turned that into my own clinic. And then from there, I just I always knew I wanted to be a boss. I always knew that I wanted to work for myself. But God has a way of doing things because I tried different businesses. And it's funny, it never dawned on me, hey, as a nurse practitioner, you can have your own clinic. That never ever dawned on me. I had sold eyelashes, I sold makeup, I sold nail art, I was what they call that, travel people, what you call those? I was that for a second. And then someone approached me about going into business with her in her company. And so I tried that for a minute, and then I realized that I was being taken advantage of. So I exited that, and then I was talking to my boss about thinking about going into business for myself, and then he accused me of stealing. So I had to, yeah, I didn't get to plan my day like most people. I just had to go ahead and do mine because he accused me of stealing. And so I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to accuse me of stealing, you could do anything, set me up with the board and try to get my license taken. So I quit that job, and I was kind of forced into having my own clinic because I had already started going through the process with the other lady who tried to cheat me. So from there, I had my own clinic. I've been in business above average health and house calls for 3 years. November will be year number 4. And then from there, it just kind of bloomed into so much more during COVID. In COVID, I opened an online store with my daughter. I did an online course with Shima Andrews to teach nurse practitioners how to do it also. I went to a vendor's event, and I did a live about it. I was so scared to do this vendors event because I went by myself, and I had talked myself out of going to several, but I said I'm going to this one, and I went, and she invited me on stage, and when I got the mic and started talking, I was like, I could do this. So I added motivational speaker to my resume, so I do that as well, and then I'm really really active in the community. I think it's really important that once we make it, that we reach back and help others. So going into the schools and speaking to the young girls there is a new passion of mine. Like next week, I think my clinic is only open 2 days because the other 3 I'll be going to different schools, delivering messages. So
So now tell us a little bit about nurse practitioners. So nurse practitioners are, there's several different nurse practitioners. You're adult geriatric, there's family, there's pediatric, and are there any others?
psych
Psych nurse
and then
practitioners.
acute.
Okay. And so tell me, give us a little, like a real short version of each one of those, because I put family nurse practitioner up there, but that's wrong for you because you're adult geriatric, correct?
Right.
So,
So family is pretty much from birth to death.
okay.
Adult starts anywhere from like 12 to 13 to death, but we really specialize on the elderly
Okay.
because everything for them is different. Like the meds that you give them is different because their bodies react differently. So you really have to know how the elderly body works in order to be able to take care of them. So I really specialize in elderly, but I start at age 10. Acute is mostly for like the hospitals and the urgent cares. Of course, peds is just kids. Um, Women's
Mhm.
health, of course, it's just women. So it's kind of self-explanatory. I did adult geriatric because I didn't want to do family because I said I wanted no part of tots and twats.
That's right, because you can get into all of that, correct?
Right. I'm not
Yeah.
interested in that. So I just did adult geriatric.
Okay, so now tell me a little bit about when you go to school,
Hmm.
because this is one thing that I think that we do. I'm on the board of the college that I got my master's from. And being on the board, one of the things that we have talked about, because, and I told them this very thing. I said, we don't, they were talking about the curriculum. And I said, what's missing from your curriculum is how to teach your nurse practitioners to go into business for themselves. Because
I don't
there's,
think it's something they want though.
mhm. You know, that's interesting. That is the second time I have heard that. That is the second time.
The first year in my business, I spent so much time explaining to people that I was the owner. Like when I set up with Quest for the labs, I stopped using them because they were getting on my nerves. They demanded to know the doctor that was ordering the test. And I was like, the doctor is not, well, the person you work for, I don't work for anybody else. Well, you're seeing patients for a doctor. No, I have a doctor that who's on my contract for a collaborative, but I don't work for her. She works for me because I pay her.
So
And it's
now,
like they couldn't
so
get that.
explain that difference, because there's about half the country that is different, right? So
Mhm.
half the country, and it's 23, 24, somewhere around there. So half the country, you have to have a collaborating physician, and then the other half, you don't have to have a collaborating
Right.
physician. So why is that important?
That's it. My friends laugh at me because every time we talk about this, I always say, "Give us free," because we're basically tied to what the doctor says that we can do. Like there's certain medications that I don't want to prescribe, but she's okay with it. But if I wanted to, if my collaborative says that I can, I can't. So being in a free state means you can open up your own clinic. You don't have to have a doctor to pay a doctor just because the state says you have to have a doctor. That's basically what it is. And then each doctor is different. Some doctors want to be very involved in what you got going on because they used to have where the doctor had to review 10% of your charts, but they took that away. So right now, unless you have a doctor that's interested, all they're doing is cashing a check. The one that I have, I love because like she really is a collaborative. If I have any issues, if I have any questions, if I ask her right away, she responds. And it used to be that nurse practitioners couldn't sign orders for home health. Well, they took that away, and that was what she was doing. So now she's just there in case I have a question for her. But really, I think that all nurse practitioners, if you're even thinking about becoming a nurse practitioner, if your state is not a free state, you should get involved in whatever they're doing to try to get it that way. And I'm applying for my license in different states that are free. So I might no longer be the Texas MP. I might be the Florida MP. I might be the Maryland MP. I might be the Arizona MP. But having a state in multiple, I mean, having a license in multiple states is very important because y'all know sometimes the board be tripping.
So
So,
tell us the reason why. So tell us the advantages and disadvantages of having a collaborating physician, because the state decides whether you
right.
need a collaborative physician or not. So tell us the difference. So tell us the reason why the
The
advantages
benefits
are.
of having a collaborative is because since you're paying them, like I have a lot of friends that say, I don't want to open a business on my own because I have no experience. Well, if you're in a state that you have to have a collaborative, use that to your advantage. Because if you have no experience and you're paying a doctor to be your collaborative, then they can answer those questions for you. So that's a pro. Um, a con of having a collaborative is if that collaborative turns on you, because I have my mentor that I did my clinicals with, she had to close her practice down because once her collaborative saw that her clinic was growing, he tripled his price
Wow.
and she couldn't afford it. So, and that's the downfall of it because you have to have a collaborative in order to practice. So if your collaborative gets upset with you or moves or God forbid dies, then you're left in the wind with no way to keep going in this business that you've built until you find another collaborative. And then you might not find one like the one you had. You might find one that some of them come in, they want a percentage of your income of what you made. No, we're not doing that. You're getting a flat fee and that's it. So that's kind of like, and the whole doctor nurse practitioner thing is a big thing too, because a lot of collaboratives don't want you to call yourself a doctor. I'm not gonna say a lot, I'm gonna say some have an issue with you calling yourself a doctor, even though you are, you earned it. So it's kind of like knowing what state you're in. If you're thinking about, owning your own practice, you need to go ahead and start looking for your collaborative now. And if you have one on deck already, I suggest you already have a plan B and a plan C, because you never know when things can go sour.
I think it's interesting, that whole doctorate thing, because the reality is that whenever you do get your doctorate degree, then you are a doctor, no matter what, no matter how. And it's interesting to me that the whole argument behind that is that the patient needs to know. Well, the
The
patient
patient
doesn't
don't care.
care. The patient don't care. I
I have
mean,
patients I have told so many times I am not a doctor, but they will not call me anything other than Dr. Givens. I said, I have to correct you. I'm a nurse practitioner. And she said, you've been more of a doctor than any doctor I've ever had. And she still calls me doctor.
because at the end of the day, as long as you're prescribing the right treatment modalities,
Right.
then it doesn't, they don't really care what you do. So anyway, so I digress. So let's get back into I want to talk about your history, because this is Black History Month, and I want to talk about how you made history in Texas. So go ahead, talk about that.
Yes, I love to talk about this, girl. I actually made history for being the first Black nurse practitioner to open up a privately owned clinic in my county. And I had someone who I think was trying to hate, I don't know, but they messaged me and told me that they was checking my facts because they didn't believe me, and found out not only was I the first Black one, but I was the first nurse practitioner, period, to open up their own privately owned practice. So I didn't make just Black history, I made history. So I'm really, really proud of that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So now tell us, we started out kind of how we met was we met kind of on Clubhouse, right?
Yeah.
That's where we met at. And I
Yeah.
remember you coming on the stage, and I remember
I didn't come on
you
the stage. Allie dragged me on stage in the
she dragged
beginning.
you on.
In the beginning, she did. She dragged me on stage every time, and then it got to the point where if I came into the room, I had to be on stage. Now I'm on stages in rooms I don't know what they're talking about, but I'm just like, hey, I'm supposed to be on stage, so I'm on stage.
I love it. Because that exposure is key. That
Yes,
exposure is where it needs to be. Now we are actually, now we've partnered with Jocelyn McElderry, who is absolutely phenomenal. And we are
I'm laughing
business.
in my mind. I called her elderberry, and I don't know.
She gonna beat you. She gonna
I
beat
know
you.
it.
Don't let her beat you.
No, she got to
So
kiss me.
it's what happens to your name whenever people try to try to pronounce it. It is super funny to me. I'm just like literally, because we'll be on Clubhouse and somebody will inevitably say your name wrong, and I feel like it's okay. It's okay. So tell me about the partnership that we have.
You mean the Just Love group?
The Just Love Great.
Yes. What do you mean? Tell you about the partnership? I'm not
So
sure.
tell us, how did it come about? What is our purpose? Tell us all of that.
How did it come about? I think you, Jocelyn, and someone else was going to do it, and then you brought me in, and that's why I love you so much. I remember you brought me in on the meeting. You was like, "This is Aquisa." We had a conversation. She told me she wanted to do something like this, and since we have this in place, I decided to bring her in, and I was just floored that you thought of me. But it's really coming together. I love the sisterhood that's coming from it. And I'm really glad that our purpose is to recharge nurses after COVID, because it's left a lot of us burnt out. It's left a lot of us tired. It's left a lot of us not knowing exactly what direction we want to go in. We know we want something different, but we're not sure exactly what it is that we want. And I think this why this summit is going to be so powerful, because when they come into it, they're going to be confused and lost and burnt out. But when they leave, they're going to be lit and on fire with a new purpose that's going to change not only their lives, but the lives of their kids. That's the goal.
I love it. And one of the things that I do like about the whole summit is that number one, it talks about the self care issues or the self care routines or self preservation, because that's one of the topics. But not only that, it gives you solutions as to how you can pivot if you want to pivot into entrepreneurship.
I love
It
that word.
is. It
Pivot.
is. It is definitely because the reality of the matter is that, again, when you left school, you didn't leave school knowing how to be an entrepreneur. You left school and you had no idea how to go into business for yourself. You didn't know the business acumen. I left school, I didn't know business acumen. And we're all degreed up. I mean, you're a nurse practitioner. I've got my doctorate degree in nursing practice. And of course, mine is in executive leadership. And even then, I learned things like, what a theory was and, how to edit a paper and that.
Right.
The biggest thing that I learned, and I do have to say that I am thankful for the time, I did learn how to persevere through the
Yeah.
process. That is the one thing that I did learn from this. If you keep going, you're gonna get the prize. You're gonna
And
get it. You
the only
know.
thing I wish I had done differently is when I was working at the clinic for someone else, I wish I had paid more attention to the business aspect.
Hmm.
I wish I had have noticed what insurances they take, what consents they have, how they do their payroll, how they do, keep up with their records. I wish I had have paid more attention to that.
I think it's important too. And one of the things that I am very thankful for that because when I left corporate, I was a manager and we had to pay a lot of attention to numbers. And so I'm very specific on paying attention to my numbers, like how much income I'm bringing in, how much revenue I'm bringing in, how many leads I'm generating. Those types of things for me is key, and making sure that we're seeing, that
Mhm.
impact from day to day. And so every morning, developing that routine. So tell us about your routines that help you to get to where you need to
Ooh.
be.
Well, I've been slacking on my routine lately. I'm just going to tell you, but I'm supposed to get up at 3 o'clock.
And
I
sometimes you do. Sometimes you do because I
Sometimes
you
I get up at 3 o'clock, but lately, not so much. But I get up at 3 o'clock, and 3 o'clock is the perfect time for me because everybody's asleep. So I do my prayer, I do my plan for the day, and then around 4 o'clock is when I do my meal prep. 5 o'clock is when I'm supposed to be working out. Yeah, we'll talk about that another day. And 6 o'clock is when I get ready, and 7 o'clock is when I do my shower and my show, and then at 8 o'clock I'm at the office and I work until 5 o'clock. When I get off at 5 o'clock, I check out of my job and check into my purpose. That's when I'm following up leads on Facebook and Instagram for either my coaching business or for the summit or for another speaking engagement or another radio or podcast interview. So I say pretty busy.
so as you are you are, on all platforms, a lot of platforms that I am on. So tell us the importance of being on those platforms. Tell us the importance of just making yourself seen.
People can't buy from you if they don't know about you. It's just that simple. If you want to grow your business, if you want to get more customers, people have to see you, and they have to see you often because they have to trust you. And I tell my students this all the time. People don't normally buy your products; they buy you. They buy it because you sell it. So by you being consistent and you constantly, showing them that you're not going anywhere, that builds trust. There's a reason why the Kardashians and the Jenners are so popular. It's because they've been in households for seasons and people know them. So what they sell, they really don't have to advertise because you already know them. They've been, you've been looking at them for years. And it's kind of the same thing. I say don't give up. The only difference between someone that makes it and someone that doesn't is the person that didn't make it quit before their break came.
Right.
If you stay consistent at it, one day yours is going to come. You just have to keep going. And there's a reason why you haven't gotten there yet. Sometimes it's not the situation that's keeping you from making it big. Sometimes it's you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can honestly say if my business had taken off last year, it probably would have been a flop because I didn't have my systems in place. I didn't have the check-ins and check-outs I'm supposed to have. Like I really would, like my friend Shima, I think it was like a year ago, she asked me, she said, so how much you make this month? I was like, I don't know. She said, how you have a business and you don't know how much money you made? And she said, how much did you spend? I was like, I don't know. And she was like, that's not how you do business. You're supposed to know every dollar in and every dollar out.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And the importance of that is just understanding because, we talk about it all the time. Of course, we talk about it a lot more at this point, but we talk about the fact that we want our children's children to know about us. We want our children's children to feel the impact of where we have been, right? And in order for us to be able to do that, we have to very much mind the ins and outs
Right.
because that can get away from you very quickly. I remember, kind of not knowing when I was younger. I mean, I went from filing bankruptcy to having a credit score of over 800, right? But it was because I minded my numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That was the reason. It wasn't anything else. I minded my numbers. So I knew not based off feeling, not based off where I was. I knew that okay, this is what's coming in, this is what's going out. We can't spend this amount. And then it literally changed the game. And
Right.
so that is absolutely super important. So I'm glad that Shima, I'm gonna have to pull her back on here. We're gonna have to talk to her. I love, love, love her spirit. She is so super
She
funny.
stays in my butt.
In
She
your butt,
stays. I was on Facebook and she was commenting on Facebook and then she text messaged me, get off Facebook and get back to work.
So how
I
did you?
was talking to you. Like what?
So Shama is an MP. So how did y'all meet each other?
On Facebook. We met
Gotcha.
on Facebook.
Gotcha.
I've
Okay.
never met her in person.
Oh, you've never met Shama in person.
Never met her in person.
So what does she look? So where's her practice at?
She has one in Connecticut, but like I said, she's the one that hooked me up with knowing that I need to have several states. I think she has 3 other states that she has a license in. And she's really been on me about getting into another state, but I was focused on Texas. But no, I'm about to expand because the thing about nursing is if you have a license in several states, if something happens with the license of your main state, you still can work with the other ones. That's what a lot of doctors do. There was a doctor here in my town that left. Don't nobody know why. Well, I know why, but I'm not saying it. But he no longer practices in Texas, but he has several other states. So he just up and moved to another state. So as a nurse, I feel like if you don't have you have a license in multiple states, you're kind of putting your livelihood in jeopardy. Because if something happens and they come and take that license from Texas, they can't take the one from New York or California or wherever else you get your license from. Especially if you're a nurse practitioner, because you can still stay in Texas and work in New York for telemedicine.
That's right. That's right. And it's just not putting all your eggs in one basket, correct?
Exactly.
So I love that. I love that. So our Nurse Recharge Summit is coming up April 23rd. It's going to be virtual, but it's going to be dynamic and it's going to be life changing.
I
And
was excited until I was told I was speaking first.
we now know that Sequisha is speaking first. And so it is going to be, again, it's going to be life changing.
It is.
Our VIP, if I'm not mistaken, there is, you can sign up for VIP. VIP gives you the ability to have a one-on-one session with all the speakers, all the panelists. Um, Also, our VIP gives you the ability to be able to also the VIP gives you the ability to be enter into a space where you can be entered to win $150 gift card, and then the VIP gives you the replays of the summit for a year. So I am super excited about the VIP. I can't wait for us to do it. So go to it should be in the copy at the top. So click on that in order to get your tickets. So now any lasting thoughts? Anything that you want to say?
Yes. Make sure that you come to Clubhouse Saturday morning at 5 o'clock Central Standard, 6 o'clock Eastern time
Right,
for the
right.
big audacious goals room. When I tell you that room is always fire. Every Saturday morning, it is always an amazing time. And you come on over there, you're gonna get a little, just a little taste of what you're gonna get at the summit.
That's right. That's right. Because it's going to be amazing. And and the deal is that we had to think very differently. The way that nursing is right now, it is a pivotal time. I've been a nurse. I say this all the time. Been a nurse for 30 years in May. Okay. For 30 years. It is a pivotal time. The tides are changing. We are owning our voice. We are understanding the power that we have.
Mhm.
And we're able to pivot so that we can help our communities, but not just help our communities, but help our own families
Right.
as well. Because if you wages over profit, I say this all the time, wages over profits, profits makes you wages makes you a living, profits makes you a fortune.
Facts.
So it is the way that we need to go. I don't care if you want to work for corporate, you still need to own your
Something.
own business, period. So again, we have the Nurse Recharge Summit that is coming up April
I
20.
can't remember who said it, but somebody said a broke person plans for tomorrow, a rich person plans for 3 generations later.
That's good. That is really good. I love that. I absolutely love that. And that's the truth.
Mhm.
So we have the Nursery Recharge Summit again. It's coming up April 23rd, 2022. We'll be learning how to recharge and how to transition into entrepreneurship if you choose to. So come and join us. You guys have a phenomenal rest of your morning. Bye bye.